The 2010 Triumph Sprint Street. It's long been said that bikers evolve with age, so while the Daytona 675 is the dream of any sports motorcycle passionate in his early 20s, the Triumph Sprint Street is a family guy's idea of a sports tourer. If that's the case, I'm getting married as soon as possible. The bike is extremely reliable and versatile while also retaining the British style and finesse with performance to back it up. Introduction. Triumph builds the Sprint Street as a motorcycle always ready to gather up serious miles with sports credentials and touring-like accommodations, allowing the distinctive-looking two-wheeler to stand out as an unbeatable package, and nobody saw it coming. The Sprint ST's grunt comes from a 1050cc, liquid-cooled, DOHC, inline 3-cylinder engine, which is fuel-injected and mates to a 6-speed tranny, just like most sport touring engines do. Apparently, Triumph starts with the handicap of having only 3 pistons, but that's just a false opinion that people get by simply going through the specs sheet and not actually seeing, hearing and riding the bike. In fact, the bike's 123 bhp at 9,100 revolutions per minute and 76 feet.lbf at 7,500 revolutions per minute are exactly what it needs considering the 530 pounds wet weight and the purpose of build. So it clearly doesn't address to riders who want the latest and most powerful model out there, but to those with plans of long trips involving a passenger and luggage. That's why the seat is such an important factor, and also the side bags. Built around an aluminum beam perimeter frame and having a seat height of 31.7 inches, the Saint is a good bike to commute on every day to work and get a preview of what the weekend's bringing. The side bags are, of course, detachable and the suspension's adjustable. You'll be riding on Triumph's best suspension package composed from a 43mm cartridge fork with dual-rate springs and adjustable preload and a rear monoshock with adjustable preload and rebound and compression damping. A Triumph characteristic that couldn't miss on the Sprint Street is the single-sided aluminum alloy swing arm supporting a stylish rear wheel that looks best from the right rider side. No doubts about it, the Triumph Sprint Street can brake as fast and efficiently as it runs due to the twin 320mm floating discs, 4-piston caliper front braking system and the single 255mm disc, 2-piston caliper rear one. An ABS is available for a special price, completing the overall unbeatable package and proving once again that safety is a prior factor for Triumph. History. Competition. The 2010 Triumph Sprint Street may not be brand new, but the strongest competitor that it gets is BMW launched the K1300S as the machine to have if aiming for the ultimate sports tourer, and that dethrones our Triumph from the proudly occupied position that gave it that much notoriety. Why is the 2010 BMW K1300S that good? Simply because it takes sport touring to a whole new level with a 1,293cc inline 4-cylinder engine that is capable of 175 horsepower and 103 pounds-per-foot of torque. It's kind of like a Hayabusa of sport tourers, and the best of it is that the riding position and aerodynamics make life on board much more comfortable. ABS is standard on the BMW as well as ASC, while ESA is optional. With an MSRP of $15,550, the 2010 K1300S is much more expensive than the Sprint Street, but still sends this last back to the drawing board if having any intention of seriously competing with it. The most recent addition to the sport touring lineup is the all-new 2010 Honda Vfr1200f. This bike revolutionizes the idea of sport touring, so read more about it here. Exterior. But even if Triumph would be determined to proudly stand against the BMW alternative, the only aspect that they'll have to improve is their bike's engine, because, stylistically, the Sprint Street can't be criticized. The fairing was designed with wind protection in mind, so the bike is fairly imposing compared to the usual sports models that people confuse it with. Having 3 headlights is a good thing to start from if planning to be distinguished from a big crowd, and the Sprint Street gets that as well as much more other particularities. For instance, the screen is perfectly integrated into the front fairing and the mirrors look like 2 brooches that grown from the fairing. Everything feels natural and perfectly integrated into the overall design. The front wing looks like an extension of the bike's nose while, on the sides, the fairing is as smooth as you'll get with only a stylish pair of air vents and the Sprint Street 1050 decals. A 5.2 gallons tank requires a lot of space, and that space would have normally intervened in the handlebars clearance if not for the beautiful sags that designers appealed to. The seat is spacious, both for the rider and passenger, and the underseat exhaust with 3 exit pipes allows for the sidebags to be mounted onto the bike's rear end at a certain angle that we all like, and so the MV Agusta-like rear wheel can stand out anywhere and at all times. With a range of appropriate color schemes available, Phantom Black, Tornado Red, the Triumph Sprint Street carries on pretty much unchanged. Press reviews. Levering the Saint off its sidestand reminds the rider this isn't the sporty Daytona 675, as the majority of the ST's claimed 530 pounds wet weight feels like it rides high. At a standstill, teetering the bike side to side between your legs, you can feel the weight carry the bike quickly to either side. Motorcycle. We tested the Sprint Street along some roads with fast 100 miles per hour plus corners, as well as tighter knee-down second and third gear bends on smooth and bumpy surfaces, and it was excellent on everything. Despite the comfortable riding position, ground clearance isn't an issue, and it has a very neutral and balanced feel while still being definitely sportier than the old model. Visor down. The Sprint Sportbike shortcomings build as the miles pile on. The sporty, forward pitch of the riding position aids in handling but places pressure on the wrists and lower back. Riders can still bear long-distance rides, particularly thanks to the cushy seat, but there's no question the Sprint exhausts riders faster than its rivals. Motorcycle USA. Your opinion of the Sprint will be very positive, with the superb engine playing a big part in praiseworthy view. It's easily the best motor Triumph has ever fitted into one of its bikes, and in its role as a sports tourer powerplant it's just about perfect. Superbike. The Triumph Sprint Street is the best sports touring motorcycle of its generation by some margin. It's smooth, long-legged, comfortable and handsome, with a effortless power to shrink distances with delightful ease. MCN. Price. Unlike BMW, Triumph doesn't offer ABS as standard equipment, so the price you pay for a 2010 Sprint Street varies depending on your option. The standard model starts at $11,999 and the ABS-equipped one at $12,799. Conclusion. Triumph can either get on with the work on their new Sprint Street model if planning not to fall that much behind the BMW K1300S, or simply carry on producing their sport tourer as it is, a much cheaper alternative for the much greater German and Japanese bikes. But, as we mentioned at the beginning of this article, the Triumph Sprint Street as a gentleman's motorcycle and too much horsepower can sometimes sound vulgar in this case. Specifications. Engine and transmission. Type, liquid-cooled, 12-valve, DOHC, inline 3-cylinder. Capacity, 1050 cc. Bore, stroke, 79 by 71.4 mm. Compression ratio, 12.01. Fuel system, multi-point sequential electronic fuel injection with SI. Final drive, X-ring chain. Clutch, wet, multi-plate. Gearbox, 6-speed. Performance measured at crankshaft to 95/1 EC. Maximum power EC, 123 bhp at 9,100 revolutions per minute. Maximum torque EC, 76 feet.lbs at 7,500 revolutions per minute. Chassis and dimensions. Frame, aluminum beam perimeter. Swing arm, single-sided, aluminum alloy with eccentric chain adjuster. Front wheel, cast aluminum alloy 5-spoke, 17 by 3.5 inches. Rear wheel, cast aluminum alloy 5-spoke, 17 by 5.5 inches. Front tire, 120/70 ZR17. Rear tire, 180/55 ZR17. Front suspension, show a 43 mm cartridge forks with dual-rate springs and adjustable preload 127 mm travel. Rear suspension, show a monoshock with adjustable preload and rebound damping 119 mm rear wheel travel. Front brakes, twin 320 mm floating discs, Nissan 4-piston calipers ABS model available. Rear brakes, single 255 mm disc, Nissan 2-piston sliding caliper ABS model available. Length, 83.2 in. Width, handlebars, 29.5 in height, 47.8 in seat height, 31.7 in wheelbase, 57.3 in rake trail, 24 degree, 90 mm wet weight, 530 pounds fuel tank capacity, 5.3 US gals. Features and benefits. Engine. The Sprint Street houses a fantastic 1050cc fuel-injected 3-cylinder engine, the very essence of what makes a Triumph special. The engine has huge reserves of torque and horsepower. Peak power is an impressive 125 bhp at 9,250 revolutions per minute, while peak torque of 77 feet/lbf arrives at just 7,500 revolutions per minute. Enhancing the engine is a smooth 6-speed gearbox and clutch fitted with an anti-backlash gear. The Sprint Street comes with Triumph's K&AQ, offering sophisticated mapping for quicker starting, cleaner running and fuel-economic engine. Seat. The supportive, spacious seat and relaxed rider and passenger ergonomics make for great comfort on long-distance trips. Screen. The Sprint Street screen gives great wind protection for those long journeys without obscuring your view around town. Hard bags. Color-matched, factory-designed, waterproof hard bags are fitted as standard and are lockable with the bike's ignition key. To further increase carrying capacity, you can add a matching top box from Triumph's wide range of accessories. ABS. Triumph's anti-lock braking system has been carefully designed to boost control under hard braking, working on both wheels independently. This unobtrusive system retains all the sensations of riding, operating at 100 calculations per second to sense the precise moment the wheel is about to lock up, then preventing it from doing so. The system has been specifically tailored to the Sprint Street, with painstaking calibration over many months to ensure optimum braking performance.
If you liked this video, please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.